This is the final demonstration for our SoftMine Robot Senior Design project. For this demonstration, we'll be showcasing all the components of the robot, which include the pneumatic harness, the base, the body, and the electronics, and the software. And we'll be showcasing how all these different components interact with each other and how the robot is being controlled with the software.
So this is a closer look into how the pneumatics work, the whole pneumatic harness. So we start off down over here in the air compressor. So this air compressor gets the air, puts it all in here at whatever PSI we want, and then we follow it through this tube into right here. This is a pressure regulator. We also use this guy right here. This is an on-off switch. Right now we took it off for testing purposes, but this would also go right here and turn the air on and off. And so we set this pressure regulator to about 2.5 psi, which is plenty for all of our inflating needs. So this 2.5 psi then feeds in through these Y splitters, and you can tell that at the end we have 4. That represents our 4 air tubes that we're filling up, the body and the 3 air tubes that are used to steer the body. And each one of these is connected in the same way. So I'll just take one for example. So here's the third one. So 4 total. This is the third tube. Comes from right here. Feeds into this ball valve right here. And then this ball valve goes to another Y splitter, which feeds first into another ball valve, which with a muffler on the end. This is going to serve as our exhaust right here. And then the other side of this Y splitter goes into yet another Y splitter that is just used to connect our pressure transducer, which just calculates our pressure that's inside the tube. And then finally our tube wraps around, goes all the way here, and ends up here, inflating one of our steering tubes. So real quick, why do we have 2 ball valves? One of them will exhaust, and the other one it will inflate essentially. So for example, if we want to inflate our tube, we will open this ball valve and close the exhaust ball valve. That means air will flow through this, won't be able to escape through here, and then it'll flow all the way into our tube. Then when we want to exhaust, we open the exhaust one, and air will flow out through here and out the exhaust. And if we just want to hold air, we just close everything. That means no air is flowing anywhere. So these ball valves right here will be connected with relays. There's 2 directions you can turn the ball valves in. One of them is the direction to close it, and one of them is the direction to open it. So you can see here, for this ball valve for example, you can see it comes all the way right here, this red wire and this green wire, and it goes to these 2 different relays. So when we want to, for example, close the ball valve, we'll turn on this one, we'll flip this relay on. That'll send 12 volts over to our ball valve and in one orientation, one polarization, to turn it in the closed direction. Then we can do the opposite, flipping on this relay, sending 12 volts again, and opening our relay. And that same process is followed throughout all the relays. And then here, right here, is the actual robot. And just real quick, it's fully extended right now, so it can also retract. Here is the tube that goes into this steering tube, the tube that goes into this steering poly tube, and then the one that goes into this one, and then we have our third one over here. So these 3 tubes are stuck around the circumference of our main body tube, and they will be used to steer it in any direction we want by inflating a combination of the 3. And then our 4th tube, remember I talked about 4 different tubes. The 4th tube is the actual body tube, which feeds into here, which this right here is our base. It serves as a pressure chamber for our main body tube, as well as for the spool for the main body tube. And the spool allows us to retract as well as inflate and let the robot grow. So this is our pneumatic base right here. This serves both as a pressure chamber for the main body tube and as the spool that retracts and lets the body grow as well. So here we see the spool, and you might be able to see the shaft going through the spool, which connects to the motor that's up here, which you'll see in a second. It also has a shaft coupler there to connect the motor. It was hard for us to get a perfectly straight line through it with our skill set, so we have a coupler that is flexible and really helps out with that. The spool here, you can see this green, dark green fishing line going all around it. The spool actually has a hole, which you might be able to see right there and right here. That hole is where the fishing line ties into. And then that fishing line goes from here and it goes into our body, and goes all the way to the end of our body, and so to the body of the robot, and then we can spool it back up, pulling on that line and eventually pulling on the body itself, and then eventually the body will be spooled up in here. Right here is where the air inlet is. This also will serve as the air outlet, but this is the whole fitting that we use. Wires here for encoder and the motor, and this red thing right here is some high friction material we use to connect these two black caps, one right here and one right here. These are called quick caps, and you can put them on cylindrical objects to make them airtight. You tighten these two bands on either one, and they will tighten up. We also right here where the robot actually feeds out, you might be able to see right there, there is a shaft, and that is connected to some bearings, and that shaft will actually rotate and allow the body of the robot to expand and leave the base without much friction, which is helpful. And if we turn the orientation of it here, and we go ahead and take off this quick cap, and usually they're not loose like this, but for this demonstration we've loosened them. Take them off. Here is where you tighten them from, these two screws. And here we can see a little bit better this high friction material that is used to keep it stuck on there. We had a few issues of it popping off at high pressures. And also we got the motor right here. Motor, and then the gearbox. And then the wires that feed in through, of course.
Are you going to screen record too?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Alright, so we got the values here with the pressure, temperature, it's a minor mode. We can start going forward. Let's see what's going forward. Forward.
Okay, let's pause it. So now the worm is stopped by using the pause hotkey. So let's continue growing it. So we press W, which grows it. So this is activating the inflation ball valve, which is growing the worm. Let's pause that. Now the worm is paused. roboting.
You're spinning the motor?
Yeah, it's really slow. It's 30 speed.
Oh yeah, that works. That's good. That's consistent.
Nice. So that's
Yeah, but you're gonna have to stop it.
yeah, I'll stop it. I'll stop it.
Stop it like now.
Okay, stop. Now we're gonna exhaust warm, so the PSI value should drop. So as you can see, it's dropping over here.
Give it a second.
Okay.